Let's see what happens. Similar streaming service. I hope this is working. If anybody can you guys see us? Hopefully you can.
On YouTube, I do
Yeah.
not yet.
Okay.
Just
Nothing
still.
yet. Hopefully this isn't.
Yeah, it's live.
It's live now.
Pretty sure. Yeah, it's live.
It's live now.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, it looks like we are. And let me mute a couple of things. Yo, everybody. Hopefully everybody can hear us. And it's all good. So let me just go back here to our Zoom workplace and view gallery. Yeah, I think we are up and running. It looks like I may have gotten this right. So sweet. Hey, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So I guess I did something. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the stream. Really appreciate everybody on here. Let me just pull up my breakthrough on my chat so I can pop that out and see here. No, not right now. No, I don't want that. I just want to pop out the chat. There we go. Woohoo! It works. So yeah, it created a new chat window and everything. So
Ta-da!
I'll take it. It's all good. So I'm glad everybody's on. Welcome again. Happy Wednesday. Dan may be on a little later. We'll see. He's traveling probably right now, not going to make it. He got stuck on jury duty.
Federal jury duty.
Federal jury duty. So yeah, so he has to travel all the way from Brooklyn, I guess, back to Long Island and stuff like that. So yeah, that sucks for him, right? But you know what? He's doing his civic duty, so you know, hey, better him than me.
You said duty.
I said duty.
Better to say it than make it.
Exactly. Oh man. But hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Hopefully everybody, you know, folks were able to get out there and image. We are going to talk about a few things as far as we're going to do a recap from last Friday, talk a little bit about that, as well as talking about building rigs and building entry level, getting started rigs for astrophotography. I hope those who were maybe seeing this live, maybe had a chance to watch it on replay, the presentation I did last week. I thought it was pretty good, you know, didn't my own horn, but I thought it was fair. Talking about different things, talking about getting started, the different types of astrophotography you may want to get into, understanding focal ratio, focal length, image circle, all those different things. And hopefully we can take that information from Friday and bring it here into today's show while we're talking about building rigs. And if you are thinking about building a rig, do us a favor. First off, give us a big thumbs up, give us a like on the show. Let us know how we're doing here. And as I said, if you're interested in building a rig, contact us, contact Dan at AstroWorld Telescopes, astroworldtelescopes.com, where we work on not only helping you image, but educate you so you can get out there in those clear skies and do the things that you love, and which is being a time traveler, going and checking out our universe, looking at the stars, looking at these galaxies, and collecting photons. So don't forget to contact Dan at astroworldtelescopes.com. And we carry many different brands. We carry Player One. We have Altair Astro. We carry Celestron, Skywatcher, and if we don't have it in stock, we'll find it for you, or we'll direct you, to who maybe does and can help you out. But that's our goal, is to help you image better and educate you and let you have fun under the clear skies. So, yes, we have the new moon approaching, and I'm personally excited because it looks like I might have a somewhat clear night tonight, so I can do a little bit of work on my mount, on my Mighty Mount, and maybe for the first time, grab a couple, images and start doing some planned work, on this Mighty Mount tomorrow and on Friday. Fingers crossed. We'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, hopefully well.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, getting back to a couple other things. Thank you to our Patreon members. We have different levels of Patreon memberships, and Dan has been working on his setup as far as, his remote setup at help me out here, guys.
Starfront?
Starfront. Thank you.
Yeah.
Starfront Remote Observatories, SFRO. And he is going to be putting out some data to our premium Patreon members. So you can grab that data soon and you can start processing that data. And we would love to see your renditions and your results when you get that data. So that'll be really cool to put into our critique imaging and let us see the different ways that you guys have been able to process M81 and M82. So that's what he's working on right now, is M81, M82, the Bode's Galaxy and the Cigar. And I think he even said there's another object out there. That's why he's got it kind of off center from those two main galaxies. So we'll see how it all ends up. So that all being said, let's jump into the discussion. As far as anything from last week and talking about the basics, feel free to drop in the chat if you have any questions. If there's things you want us to discuss a little bit in more detail when it comes to focal ratio, image circle, focal length, the different types of astrophotography, drop that in the chat, ask these questions, and we can have discussions about this stuff. But guys, what are some of your initial thoughts as far as anything other that I may have missed or didn't touch on, at that, from last week's presentation that you think we might want to, touch on and speak about right now, before we start building out, our budget rig? Any thoughts?
I mean, you covered a lot. I mean, I can't think of anything I would add. I think it's just important, that, with the way prices are, what's your budget? You know, I know we talked to like $1,500, but I don't even know if you can do $1,500 now. But I guess you could if you're using, you know, like a star tracker and stuff like that. But
yeah, and we're going to talk about that, you know, using different types of budget friendly, I guess you can call it a way, or but again, it's also about when we talk budget friendly can mean different things to different people.
well, it definitely does. Yeah.
So we'll keep that in mind as well. Hey, Pamela, how's it going? Thanks for showing and joining us. Really appreciate that. Um, and and so as I talked, you know, I was talking about focal ratio, different speeds. You know, the bigger the number, the slower your telescope is, and that also deals with your can definitely affect your exposure time. Versus, so if you have something that is an a f4 versus an f8, it could be twice as long or four times as long as far as your image exposure time with that f4 versus an f8 telescope. So we can talk about a slower refractor versus a faster, shorter focal length refractor when we're talking maybe somewhere in the 4 to 500 or so millimeter focal length versus something, a refractor that could be in your 8 to maybe a 800 to 1,000 millimeter focal length, whereas that's when you're getting towards the f7, f8 um, focal ratios. You can also talk about the different types of telescopes that you have, and you have a refractor which uses glass versus a Newtonian or a Schmidt-Cassegrain, which are our reflectors or our mirrored type telescopes. And our Newtonians are normally faster than our Schmidt-Cassegrains. They both need to be collimated, which is basically aligning your mirrors to one another, your primary and secondary mirrors. In both cases, but there are different types of collimation steps you have to do between uh with one versus the other. So that's going to have to be, you know, kept in mind and kept in play when we're discussing certain types of telescopes. And those telescopes will allow us to either view things in a more wider field versus a more narrow field. So those depend as well. Yeah, we can definitely, Greg, set certain limits, you know, like $2,000 to $5,000 rigs. Um, John says
S30 is not a rig.
yeah. But you know what though? Here was something
S30
that
is something you throw on top of a table and tell it to go.
you tell it to go. But this brings up a very good point when we're talking even about astrophotography or budgetary rigs. I had a coworker of mine just today um, ask me about telescopes because he had just bought I believe he said a $400 to $500 telescope. He doesn't know anything about it, you know, but he bought this for his 9 or 10-year-old son, and all they were able to do was see the moon. And he wanted something that, you know, his wife and son, because they're more into astronomy, they seem more interested, and he's backed off a little bit as far as knowing the equipment. However, when something's going wrong, who are they calling? They're calling daddy to say, hey, come fix this, or why can't I see this, or why can't I see that? And they spoke about, and I asked him basically, how much did you spend on that telescope? And he said it was about $500. So
I'm curious what kind of telescope.
He said he had no idea. He just bought a telescope for his kid, and he could see the moon, and that's all he could really see. Right. So I did speak with him, you know, saying if you want to keep in that budget, because other telescopes that do a lot more, they're going to be double, triple that cost. But if you want to enjoy some time with your 9-year-old, 10-year-old son, you and your wife, and explore the stars, definitely consider a smart telescope like the Sea Star or the Dwarf if you want to stay in that $400 to $500 range, and explaining to them this is what you can do. It is it will you can basically use your iPad, Android, or iPhone or smartphone. And if you want to go and you want to look at galaxies, it'll give you a slew of galaxies that you can be able to see. And no pun intended saying slew, but you can choose all these different targets and you can tell it to go there. The smart telescope for that $400 or $500 will go there. It'll check to make sure it's got that object centered, and it will begin to take photographs, and it will begin to what we call stack those photographs one on top of the other to start bringing out more definition, getting you better resolution, and getting you able to see and giving you the opportunity to actually see this object instead of it being like somewhat of a maybe a little fudge ball, or that you can't make out. So yeah, so now he has to spend another $500 to get a Sea Star, but I think having something like this where it's lightweight, you can take it anywhere with you. You can take it camping, you can do so much stuff with it. And with that, your little one here who is interested in seeing the stars, now you've given your child a tool to use that will last them so much longer than what you expect, and be able to open up the entire universe to that child. That's what we want to do. We want to develop more outreach to our younger people so they have an opportunity to enjoy the cosmos, enjoy our universe, and maybe it can lead them to opportunities as they become teenagers and young adults and so on, and pass this love of astronomy and eventually astrophotography on to their own kids. So for $500, yeah, sorry, man, you spent, it was difficult. I understand $500 is nothing to sneeze at, but if you really want to get your kid into astronomy and having them learn, because they can learn with the app and learn the stars and all of that stuff, these smart telescopes are fantastic ways to go. So what are you guys' thoughts?
I think if you're trying to get, your son or something like that, I mean, I would imagine one of the things they're most interested in looking at to begin with is going to be the planets: Jupiter,
Mm-hmm.
Saturn, Mars, Venus, the moon, within our own solar system. And I think the best way to start with that is a Dob.
Yeah.
Get an 8-inch Dob for $600, and you're going to be able to zoom right into Saturn and Jupiter and its moons and all that. And that's going to blow your mind when you get to see that kind of stuff. But if you're using a small refractor, you're never going to see that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Scott, what do you think?
It really depends on what you want to do. It's been my experience that people do what they want to do, and if you educate people to the realities of what it takes, they will make up their mind as to whether or not they want to spend $600 on a dwarf, or they want to spend $6,000, on a rig,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean $6,000. I mean, you're at an entry level decent rig, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
And there's a huge learning curve there, though, too.
That's true.
The thing with getting, like a big Dob, what you really want to teach these kids is the night sky. You know, so having to manually move it and everything like that, you get your star charts out. You show them, you know, okay, so that if they do really get interested and they graduate up to a $10,000 rig,
right?
Now they already know the night sky. They know what they're looking for, and it just kind of
start with good planetarium software.
Yeah.
You know, there's stuff for your phone that you can literally point at the sky.
Point it, and you can line your dial.
It'll tell you exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
and with a Dob, you can get one of those little cell phone things that goes over the lens and snap, you know, photos like that.
They've got magnet versions of those now that you can leave actually on the eyepiece, and it will literally allow you to just, you know, magnetically snap the phone right to the eyepiece.
Cool.
So,
Yep.
But you know, it's like anything. You know, as I said before, people tend to do what they want to do. It's about educating them so that they're not wasting money. You know, throwing money at something they think is going to work. But then it does. Believe me, this is not the hobby that you want to do that in.
Right.
You don't want to throw money at what you think might work. You want to educate yourself, you know, to what will work, you know, and that's the whole premise behind the kits, you know, and starting with a smart telescope, starting with a Dob, you know, or, you know, something like that is an absolutely fabulous way to go. I mean, all you have to do is go to a star party. There's going to be some star geek there that's going to have, you know, an 18-inch or 24-inch. There was a guy that had a 36-inch Dob at one of those damn star parties. And I mean, you look through a 36-inch Dob.
Step ladder.
Yeah, I mean, that that just opens up a whole new world. The thing is, too, is that, you know, observing through, you know, an eyepiece is great, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But and as long as you know what you're looking at, I mean, you can see Andromeda in a Bortle 3 sky with the naked eye.
Yeah.
You know, if you know where it is, you can see it. So, you know, and I absolutely agree with you, Dave. Learning where the things are in the sky, you know, and knowing what time of season you're in so that you know what's up there, you know. Planetarium software goes a long way to help with that.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I mean, believe it or not, one of the best tools that anybody starting out can buy for themselves is a good set of 10 by 50s.
Oh,
just get yourself a good set of 10 by 50s, and I mean,
and go to a dark sky site.
Exactly. I've got a nice set of Loophole, you know, that like the manufacturer for gun scopes. Loophole makes really nice binoculars as well. Their optics are amazing, and I mounted that on a tripod, and I've got a tripod that has a long extension. It goes through the center, and that extension has an area on the mount where you can unscrew that and flip it and hang it down. So you could literally set that tripod. You could lay out on a grassy knoll, you know, out in the dark, and literally have that tripod sitting over the top of you and dangling those binoculars right in front of you, you know, and just using that to stabilize, to look at things. That's one of the big problems with binoculars is, oh God, I can't hold it still, you know. So having something like a tripod to stabilize them is, you know, a fabulous idea.
That's huge, yeah.
But here's a thing that I'm going to throw out, and maybe it's a counterpoint or anything like that. And I am totally in agreement with you as far as Dobsonians. You know, a lot of them are very budget friendly and stuff like that. But in my opinion, when I'm meeting certain parents, okay, or my coworkers or people like that, sometimes they don't either have the complete interest themselves to spend with that Dobsonian and looking around and stuff like that. Because again, like I said, this was their child is gathering this interest. And maybe the parent isn't necessarily into it, you know, but they want to be able to give their child a benefit of something that maybe they may not be interested in, but not take that interest away from their child, right? And so buying a Dobsonian sometimes, and this is why, I was bringing up the Smart Scope versus the Dops, and I didn't initially say a Dobsonian, is because sometimes you have parents, and I'm going to be honest, they work 9 to 5ers, and they're busy, trying to make dinner and do this and do that, and just trying to get through every day, of working and daycare or taking care of their kid and school and all that stuff, where they may not have the patience or time available to go and spend a lot of time learning something themselves, right? And learning it themselves so they can transfer that knowledge onto their child. It's sad, but it's true, you know? So using, so sometimes using a pair of binoculars, people are, yeah, they'll maybe use their smartphone and they're trying to look around and stuff like that. They could end up getting frustrated or whatever. And also, we want to try to also limit that frustration because, again, sometimes in our society, it's about instant gratification. It's about getting a fast result. And I know what you're saying, and I agree with you, Scott, but there are these, and maybe it's me being, city folk, coming from the big city, Chicago and stuff like that, and where everything is rush, 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 fast food, fast this, fast that.
Yeah.
It's fast and furious. And it's not always, and I agree, it's not sometimes the best way to raise our children. We need to slow down, maybe take them camping, maybe, going out to dark sites and discovering things for ourselves too, not necessarily just for our child, but slowing down and just taking a look at the night sky and like taking a trip, to Arizona or Utah or New Mexico or Texas, where you can get away from the city craziness and just look up and just say, oh my God, wow. But there's certain people and certain parents that may not have that ability or have that time. So maybe doing something like a smart scope will not only help their child, but hopefully it's a gateway that brings out some interest into the cosmos and astronomy for them. And then maybe that might bring them into saying, you know what? I actually now want to spend some more time with my child and do more, right? And then they'll actually maybe get a Dobsonian and learn how to use eyepieces and knowing the different eyepieces, a Plössl or a 25-degree versus using a 10-degree, things like that, understanding those bits and pieces. But I mean, am I wrong in thinking that? That this is how, sometimes people can be, and why I was thinking a smart telescope, based off of what that person's comments were, that I'm not really into that, but I want to give something for my kid, so they can be into it. Was I going down a wrong path of staying a smart telescope versus a Dobsonian?
No. Not necessarily, no.
So, so it's just those things, and I'd love to hear what the chat has to say and love to hear their comments, because that was just, one of those things that, and I'll be honest with you, I should have thought of a Dobsonian, but based off of what that person was telling me, I went straight for a C star. They want something inexpensive, they got a set budget and they're not into it, but they want to get their kids into something. And I was like, dude, I don't want you wasting your money. And if you're not going to be interested, but you want to have your kid interested in something and you want to get them something quick to, like as smart as one, two, like an ASIR, easy as one, two, three type of a deal, where it can get them going, go here. There you go. Richard says a C6 smart telescope is good too. Yeah, these Origins, they're not bad. I mean, they're good. All of these, I mean, I can see the benefit of all of this stuff. And I also can see it as a negative too, especially when it comes to astrophotography, because we can all sometimes agree that some of this stuff, it's great. It's absolutely, but some of it just does not compete with learning, learning your own equipment, learning your own setup, and buying, the right things and buying once and or the buy once or cry once type deal. So, and we're going to talk a little bit, about buying the right stuff here too in just a sec. Tom says, I see both points. They won't learn the sky with a smart telescope, but they'll get very interested. And once they see the image, and with a Dob, they'll learn to see the sky. It says, so Tom's like, oh, hell yeah, get them both. Boom. Get them started with one, maybe have them go to that other, It's like a gateway drug or something, right?
Oh, it's definitely a drug.
Spend more money on this hobby than you do smoking cocaine, let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kevin, he slightly disagrees with Tom, saying that his first telescope was a Meade ETX 90, and it taught me what to look at. And I agree. You definitely want to be able to teach your children or teach yourself on what to look at. We were just like you just mentioned here, Scott, understanding what's in the night sky during a particular time of year, stuff like that. Are you going to see M8 and M20 in the winter? No. But you'll see M45 and M42 for sure, understanding what's out there in the night sky given, the particular time of year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Unless you move to Australia.
Yeah, then it gets all reversed. And, we don't want to throw that out there and get people confused like that. So let's not do that yet. Let's see. What? There was something here. Matthews says, but doesn't it open the door? For one, I got a sea star and it reignited my love of the sky. Now I have my books and my charts, and as with everything, it's balance. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. And we're not saying one way is right or one way is wrong. It's just how do you decide to approach the introduction to the night sky to someone or to a child or even to yourself? It really depends on you and everything. It's remember, this is about you. It's not about us here or people in the chat. It's about you, your comfort level, your interest, and what you feel the best spending your hard-earned money on. That's all it's about ultimately.
Well, a lot of this, especially when you get into, DSO, and you're into, astrophotography. It's important that we not, sugarcoat the reality of that with people. That, it's just like going to college, How many degrees does a freshman have? That would be none. You you paid your $90,000 and now you're in college, but you ain't got no damn degree yet. It takes time to learn this hobby. And if you're not willing to invest the time into it, don't waste your money, because all you're going to wind up with is an expensive paperweight.
Yeah. Yep. That is very true.
I mean, you're talking about, and I just did a video on this. In fact, I just put it up this afternoon. It went up at 4 o'clock, and it was kind of it dovetailed in with what you were talking about last week, Eric. I said that when it comes to these complicated telescope rig systems like what we're used to, these are systems that are made up of many subsystems that are all run, in a computer environment. And balancing those subsystems to work together as a system, as a whole, there is a, like you said, Dave, there's a huge learning curve, and there is no easy way around that. Now, that has its pros and cons. For people that aren't willing to, to learn, to commit to what it means to operate one of these systems and learn how to do it effectively, don't waste your money. Don't waste your time, because you're just going to wind up frustrated and disillusioned, and you don't want to do that. But if you're willing to learn, and you're willing to not only learn, but take the experience of others, so that you can avoid some of those landmines that eventually will. I mean, we've all made mistakes buying things, that we thought were going to work, and they turned out not to be the right fit. Right? We want to help people to avoid that kind of stuff, right? But also then, once you have things that work together, how do you use it? How do you use it? How do you balance it? And it's like with anything. Everybody starts at zero. Nobody comes into this as an expert.
Exactly.
Nobody. So if you're willing to learn, you can make it work. You can make it work. And the other side of this, with kids, where kids are concerned, I'm sorry, but I shouldn't say that. I'm not sorry. Sorry, but not sorry. Okay. We have a generation of kids that have no patience for this. They have if they can't get it in 5 seconds, they're done, because they're raised on TikTok. If they can't get it in 3 seconds, they're gone. You are never going to be able to do that in this hobby. Even with a smart telescope, you are never going to be able to do that in this hobby. It's going to take time. And if you're not willing to invest the time, go find something else.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to be disillusioned and poor.
Yeah. And that's, when we talk about this, I think maybe also we want to separate a couple of things. Astrophotography is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Astrophotography, let's get that clear here. Astrophotography is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It is deep learning curves. You have to take time. Join an astronomy club. Learn, get books, listen to people. You can listen to people like us. You can listen to other people such as Trevor Jones and, Dylan O'Donnell and Quiv, the Lazy Geek, Luca Matico. When we're talking about astrophotography, there is a difference between astrophotography and a smart telescope. A smart telescope, in my opinion, is nothing more than astronomy without the eyepiece. It is you learning. You're not there. You're not buying a sea star or a dwarf to get an apod, or to get into the really deep stuff that we talk about, and the things you hear and you read and you learn about with astrophotography, PixInsight, Cyril, using Photoshop, processing, all of those things. A smart telescope is for learning, getting you started, just like a Dob. But as you said, it's for us, the kids of the TikTok generation. All right. It's for us, for the kids our kids of today, the ones who don't have that patience, but they just might have enough to get interested and then be willing to slow down, to take a minute to say, I want to know more, and let
Yep.
their minds explode and become sponges. Now, Kevin, yeah, you can get some pretty intense images and stuff like that. And yeah, you can put them out here. But in my opinion, I honestly don't think smart telescopes were intended strictly to be a substitute for astrophotography. I felt they were to be for outreach and for opening up the door to astronomy and to see what is, really out here above, beyond our own atmosphere, beyond our own solar system, or even within our own solar system. But when you want to talk about, I want to start getting serious about buying a rig and putting your money into that, you've got to slow down and just take it step by step. As I say, go to that astronomy club, listen to other people, follow, certain books, follow YouTube, things like that. And then get where you want to go. Because yeah, smart telescopes are gateways. They're gateways.
The way I look at it is it's kind of like, as a terrestrial photographer, as a professional photographer, I mean, I've got, I don't know, 25 or $30,000 worth of, camera lenses and so on and so forth that I've accumulated over the years, right? And and people they'll come in and they'll take, an iPhone, and they say that, that they'll say, I can take as good a picture with this iPhone as you can, with your full frame camera. And I'm like, you think so? Really?
Really?
Okay. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Those three little tiny lenses on that iPhone, yeah, they're the same thing as my great big, yeah, no. It's just not the same thing. Now, people will settle for, and that's different. If you're going to settle for, then that's fine. But the smart telescope is kind of like the iPhone.
Well, what they don't understand is they're looking at those pictures on their iPhone.
Yeah.
And your picture on their iPhone and their picture on their iPhone look similar. But let's see you blow it up on an 8x10 frame or something. They are not going to look anywhere close to the same.
No. And it's like with anything, people think, well, if I had a $4,000 Nikon, I could shoot the way you do. Really? Yeah, that $4,000 price tag comes with the 20 years experience. Really?
Yeah, I was going to say, after years and years of trial and error and practice.
Yeah, and you see, that's what we're offering. That's what we're offering here. Is the not only the ability to spend your money smart, right, based on the experience of not one person, not even two people, but a whole group of people, right, saying, this is a well-balanced system that will produce results. Now you have a well-balanced system. Now we're going to take and we're going to impart our experience in how to use it. Because if it doesn't matter how I can hand my Nikon, my DA50 to somebody, and they don't have the first freaking clue, because guess what? The D850 don't have no auto function on it.
Yeah.
There ain't no auto function on that thing. You just, they have the first clue how to use it. Well, it's the same thing here. So we can't just give people a good rig setup. We got to have the knowledge base behind it to be able to show them, hey, here's how you use the thing. Here's some resources. Go educate yourself. Here's some help. You get what I'm going with that?
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, real quick. That's let's hop over to our website and we'll take a look at our image of the week contestants for this week for May 23rd. So let me just fire this up here really quick and then I will share that. So just a second here. And
Tom, your app, I'm just responding to somebody in the chat. Thomas Duff, right? You're absolutely right. You know, there are different levels of commitment. All can still participate in the hobby. That is exactly what we're trying to get across to people.
yeah.
That is exactly it. You know, you want to come in and you know you got $1,000 to spend. Yeah, you know we can help you out. You got $1,500, even $2,000 just to spend. We can help you out. But it's important to also understand that you can spend $400 on one filter. One.
Yep. All right.
So
So let me share my screen here. And what's this here? All right. So again, don't forget this is our website, astroworldweb.com. And here you can check out our images. You can go to check out our 2024 image of the year. You can check our image of the week contest, which we're getting to shortly, and our image of the month. You can even, for our astrophotographers, you can have us critique your astro image. So you just drop that in there. But for our image of the week contest entries for this week, it's astroworldweb.com/IOTW. And this week, again, last week, May 16th, congrats to Keith Sisk and John Capithorn for their images of M42 here and of the blood moon. But for image of the week this week, we had no entries into our novice bracket. And I'm going to encourage all of us to let our novice members and people here on the show who are just joining us, welcome. If you are getting into astrophotography, if you have a C star and you've taken a picture and you think it's really great and you want to have an opportunity to move away from that C star and really get into the field of astrophotography and learn about astrophotography, let us help you out by even helping you let us help you help yourself by giving you some money, giving you some AstroWorld telescope bucks to start building your new rig. So our novices, don't forget to drop your images in here for a chance to win some AstroWorld telescope bucks to start building your own rig. So, but for our experience brackets, we have this very nice photo of the moon, April moon at dusk by Keith Sisk. And this was taken with a C star. So there's that here. So this is a really good shot of the moon with that smart telescope. And we have this very nice shot of the Crescent Nebula NGC 6888 by Tom Peter. He used 2 scopes and 2 cameras to get this image. It says multiple blends. So we only have 2 entries this week. We have 9 votes so far. So don't forget to go to astroworldweb.com/IOTW and vote for these 2 images. Vote for your favorite. And when we talk, and I'm also going to go to our website, astroworldtelescopes.com. Here you can see a link to our show, and you can join the live show. And if you're into astrophotography, you can contact Dan, and he can help you. You can even sign up for our newsletter here and get you started on astrophotography when you are ready. You know, we carry different types of products. So just you can browse here, take a look. You have cameras, filters, off-axis guiders, you name it. You can look at all the different brands that Dan carries at AstroWorld Telescopes, And yeah, you can get, we will do our best to help educate you and get you imaging. So when you got those clear skies. So definitely check out AstroWorldTelescopes.com. All right. Now we move on here. Dan is running out of PTO time. Yeah. Freaking jury duty. What can I tell you? So
he should be home.
yeah, he should be. So, hey, if I don't know why he doesn't want to hop in.
He's not
he's
used
probably
to taking
tired.
He's not used to taking the train so much.
No, he's not. That's probably true. That's probably true. Okay, so getting to building our that entry level rig. Let's first start out with, let's give ourselves, for an entry level rig, let's be a little realistic when we're talking astrophotography. When you're ready to take the red pill and you want to go down that rabbit hole, Alice, and you are ready to really get into images like you see behind us. These are our images that we've done with our own astrophotography rigs.
I don't think 1,500 is realistic. I think you should double that.
I think we should double it. So we're going to double it. An entry level astrophotography rig. We are going to start out with a budget of $3,000. So get those tax returns ready, folks. Get your tax refunds and let's get ready. Hey, I know y'all got those tax refunds, so let's do this. All right. Now, we talked a bit about image circle. We talked about focal ratios. We talked about all of that stuff. And all of that stuff is important, but nothing. And everybody in the chat, I'm sure, will agree with me. Everybody here in the panel will agree with me. Nothing, beyond nothing, is more important than your mount. And your mount is key to everything. If your mount, and we're talking, when I say a mount, it's the tripod. Okay. We're going to talk about this, a tripod. It's basically where you set your astrophotography camera, telescope, rig, everything else sits on top of that mount. The mount is what tracks this, tracks those stars. It's what tracks and what follows the Earth's curvature so you can take long exposures. Because the name of the game, especially now I'm talking about deep sky imaging, is long exposures. Okay. So we're talking $3,000 to get started. First thing we want to buy is our mount, and we want to buy a good one. There are lots of different types of equatorial mounts, and you want to purchase an equatorial mount. You do not want to purchase an alt-azimuth mount. An alt-azimuth mount may be good if you want to do planetary imaging, high-speed video planetary imaging. But if you want to take long exposures and you want to track along the night sky and do that, you need an equatorial mount. All right. Usually a German equatorial mount, a strain wave or harmonic drive equatorial mount, something like that. So Tom's like, well, you blew your budget.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you're looking at strain wave mounts, you're already there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's an AM3 go for?
Let's go for it. Let's take a look and let's take a look at what an AM. Now, we do not sell AM3s. So what I'm going to say is let's keep it within what we carry, because we are not a ZWO dealer, but we are a Pegasus Astro dealer. So let's take
You can also get the rainbows, but that's going to be well beyond the budget anyway.
Yeah.
Even the cheapest ones.
Yeah. So let's take a look. Let me share my screen here again.
And the other thing, while Eric's pulling that up, one of the other things to remember too is that we are working on developing these kits, and we'll have actual sheets that will show the different recommended subsystems for each individual kit. And those will be going up on the website probably couple weeks, maybe a month.
Okay. Now there are several manufacturers that we do carry, such as Celestron, Skywatcher, Explorer Scientific, Pegasus Astro, Sharp Star, Starfield, I believe, Ioptron, that manufacture equatorial mounts. But the first one we're going to talk about is from Pegasus Astro. So we'll go here to Pegasus Astro, and I'm going to just simply, you can go there and we can look that up. You can scroll around and take a look, but we're just simply going to type it in. And I'm going to move this out of the way here. NYX88. The NYX 88. Well, that takes us out of the budget. So let's try something else. This is $2,600, but it's a great little mount.
That's the NYX what? 88? Yeah, that's.
I'm going to actually go to one of my first mounts, which
that's
is
a harmonic mount, right?
It is a harmonic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
you're
let's
not going to find a cheap harmonic mount. Just not.
No, you're not. Let's go to Ioptron. And let's take a look at, let's say the SIM 25 or the GEM 28. So let's go here. Let's see, the SIM 25. Let's see if we have that here. Okay, the SIM 25. This is an equatorial mount. It's center balanced. And so let's take a quick look here. This is $1,398.
That's a good deal.
So this is a good deal.
And what's the payload capacity on that?
26 pounds.
Okay.
The SIM 26.
For a starter rig is not bad.
For a starter rig is not bad. The payload capacity is up to 27 pounds or 12.3 kilograms. This one comes with with an iPolar, built-in Wi-Fi, permanent periodic air correction, GPS, and a lot of other fixings. Excuse me.
Kind of good, actually.
Yeah. And the mount weight is only 10 pounds. So it's a very lightweight mount. So you have.
Does it give the weight, the combined weight with that and the tripod?
The combined weight with the tripod, without the tripod, no, it does not. The tripod, you're probably going to be looking at maybe another
12 pounds.
12 pounds or so. It does come with a stainless steel tripod. And the dovetail saddle is a Vixen style. So you have to keep that in mind, because there are different types of dovetails. The dovetails are what sit up underneath your telescope, the actual telescope itself, which is what sits into the mount saddle.
Yeah, but at 27-pound max, a Vixen is fine.
The Vixen is going to be fine, and most telescopes in this range at 26
are going to come with a Vixen.
Are going to be a Vixen. Are going to be a Vixen dovetail. So we have the iPolar here. So that is one option. Another option would be Celestron. the AVX. So we can take a look at that.
Yeah,
Michael, we just had 10 people give up the hobby.
I know, right?
I wouldn't steer anybody towards a Celestron mount.
I understand, but we're talking about budget here. So
yeah, but we're talking about least amount of headaches too.
Yeah, we're talking about least amount of headaches, but I'm just saying people are
be going, what the hell is my mount doing? Why is it doing
that? I know. There are some here that you can even come with. They even come in a kit. They even come with a telescope. But let's just take a look and see if we can just get the mount. This mount here is $1,200. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you folks. I own this.
Spend the extra $100.
I own this mount. Spend the extra $100 to $200
and get the iOptron
and get an iOptron. Absolutely. I also, there is another option. I want to take a look here.
And not for nothing, you can always find, I've looked around in the used market. You can get an EQ6 for about $1,200-1,300 used.
Yeah, you can.
And, that's probably one of the most versatile mounts you can ever.
Yeah,
use.
because if you get it brand new, it's $2,800.
Well, that's the AZ EQ.
Oh, okay, that's the AZ EQ.
Yeah.
I was looking at this Wave 100. This is just under 2,000, so I wouldn't necessarily go that route. But
you're gonna have to buy a scope.
Exactly, you have to buy a scope and everything.
Yeah. So go back up? What's the EQ6R? 2250.
2250. So,
but like I said, you can find those used for $1,100, $1,200, $1,300. As long as it's legit and it's in good shape. Man, there's nothing wrong with those mounts.
No. So, but let's stick with the iOptron.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
See.
Don't ignore the questions in the chat.
Can you guys tell them to me or share them with me while you guys are?
Beatrice is asking. She says I need a new mount for my Skywatcher Quattro. But let's see, not too heavy, not too expensive. Yeah, not too heavy, not too expensive. Those might be mutually exclusive. Does anyone have experience with the Skywatcher EQ AL55? AL55i, I think.
Isn't that the new one?
Yeah. I don't have any experience with that. Right. Skywatcher EQ. Yeah. $760, 22 pounds.
Yeah. Does this include the tripod stainless? All right. So here we have the iOptron CEM26, 1,400, 1,398. So no.
Yeah, John, that's right. The CGXL is belt driven.
Okay, so we have.
It comes with a carry case too. That's nice.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I liked about the iOptrons, the smaller ones.
Yep.
Like that one was the 745 that comes with a case too, I think.
Yeah. So far we are at 1,398. All right, so there's our mount. These are very good tracking mounts for their weight capacity. So now we want to be able to begin to build now on this. So we are basically, this is almost half our budget right now. Okay. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, what is going to sit on top of this?
OTA, baby.
You have an OTA or optical tube assembly, which is AKA the actual telescope.
Yeah.
So we are going to take a look at a few different types and figure which one would be the best. So we can take a look at refractors. Refractors are glass. You know, they refract glass. There's glass elements inside of them. Okay. And
the glass refracts the light.
Refracts the light.
Yeah.
So let's just take a look at here. See what we've got. And there you have several different ones. We have an EvoStar apochromatic or APO, apochromatic 80 millimeter ED, which is for 1,000, just under 1,000. So
is that a doublet or a triplet?
Doublet.
This is a doublet, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
yeah. So that's going to be the thing you need to worry about is getting a doublet or a triplet, because it's going to be a big, huge difference in price.
Yep. Now here
you have this. Yeah, that's a great scope right there.
This is a 60 millimeter quad.
Or can you increase the size? Can you bring that up?
Yep. So we're going to bring this up. This is a quad f5. All right. And we talked about that focal ratio.
So no flattener needed.
No flattener needed.
So that saves you money there.
This focal length is calculated 60 millimeter by the focal ratio 5. This is 300 millimeter focal length. So this is a wide field setup. So you're going to be able to grab a lot of, you're going to be able to image a lot of space in here.
So, yeah, what's does it show the focal length of that in the description?
Yep. And if we go,
it's going to be 350 like that.
I would guess somewhere in there. Yeah.
Let me see here. Where does it say?
Should say.
I'm surprised. Views, we have different views.
Description.
We have the description, but it doesn't show. So what we can do here is we can go to Starfield.
Yeah, you can go on their site.
And this is a 60.
With spot diagram on that, it's really nice.
It's got to be right around 300.
That's what I'm thinking. It's around 300. Looking here. As I said, it's got to be about 300, because if you look at the aperture of 60 millimeter multiplied by the focal ratio of 5, that's 300. That's 300 millimeters. So we're talking a 300 millimeter focal length here, because it does not say even here, which is surprising. I'm wondering right there.
300 right on the dot.
Yeah.
300 millimeter f5.
Yep. So this is 300 millimeters, and
which is wide,
which is wide field, which is still very good. And so if we go back to our setup here, and where did I?
Woodland Hills has it on sale for $9.45.
No, we're not worried about it. We're talking about our stuff here, man.
But Dan will match.
Dan will match, but talk about our stuff here, dude. So
yeah, but remember too that if we don't have it, we want to be, we want to send, we want Macy's to send you to Gimbals. So
yeah.
And I just dated myself there. So
yes, you did.
There you go.
Now go to reflectors though.
Yeah,
Okay.
look at a Newt.
Yeah, look at a Newtonian.
Let's look at a Newtonian.
Because if you want to go deeper, you want to approach, 1,000 or 1,200 millimeter. You can do it with a Newt.
Well, we got to stay within
similar
our
price
weight
point.
limit. We have to stay within our weight limit of 27 pounds.
27 pounds. We got to stay within our weight limit. So that's exactly right. So let's take a look. See.
Well, I mean, an 8-inch Newt shouldn't be too heavy.
No.
All right, here we go. We have a Quattro here.
150p. What's the weight of that?
Let's take a look.
That's f3.9.
Focal.
That's nice and fast.
600 millimeter focal length. So it's twice as
double
the focal length as the refractor.
Yep.
Okay.
That's still nice and wide.
And it's 12 pounds.
That's perfect.
So that's
you see?
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. That's still wide enough that, pointing at anything in the Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way, I mean, you're going to be able to, there are a lot of targets in 600 millimeter range.
Yeah, there are. And you can still do galaxies, the larger, brighter galaxies.
Andromeda is going to be beautiful in that.
Yeah. Well, so will triangulum, so will
absolutely.
You could, with the right camera, you could even get the Leo triplet. You can
with a smaller chip camera.
Smaller chip camera. And
so that Newt was how much, Eric?
$600 something.
$665.
So that means you can also probably get a halfway decent cooled camera and possibly a nebula booster filter.
Yeah. So let's take a look.
And probably the what's that not the ASIA or the other one, the
Stella Vita.
Stella Vita. I don't know why I draw a blank on that name. I can't seem to keep it in my head.
I wouldn't even go that far. You can get a mini PC, and Nina and PhD2 are free.
Okay, well, let's slow down. Let's slow down here. Let's slow down.
I'm just saying.
We're getting.
Eric's gonna bust out with simmer down now. Simmer down.
Simmer down now. We just got the mount and we've got the OTA. Now, now we have to look for a camera. So, and I would recommend, now you can do two things. You can, if you own your own DSLR, you can use your DSLR with this. You can get what's called T adapters, and you can use your own camera with this. I want to, and also remember what we've talked about as far as saying image circle. You want to also make sure that your chip size is suitable for this particular camera. I mean,
just go to the website.
So
the website.
Yeah, so we are going to do that here really quick. So it includes a finder. I wanted to see if this included the image circle, but it does not. So what we want to do is we want to go to a website here.
Astronomy Tools.
Astronomy Tools. Yep.com. So let's go there.
Yeah, and for those of you that are out there that don't know what we're talking about, you need to bookmark this in your computer.
Yeah, this is a great website.
It is a fantastic website. Now,
for those of you that are out there, this is like going into the library. That section in the library where there were books that were available to you that were referenced. You couldn't check out because they're reference books, but they're very important. Well, this is one of those websites. It's a reference website. You need to bookmark it.
Absolutely.
Go to calculators.
Yep.
So we are going to go to calculators.
And suitability.
We're going to go for suitability.
Yeah.
Because what this is going to help us calculate is our resolution formula, which is that pixel size of the center of your camera divided by the focal length multiplied by 206.265. Now, we said we have a Skywatcher here. That is the scope that we chose. Skywatcher.
150p. That's it. You just passed it.
Yep. 150p.
The chat, just so that you guys know, the chat is fighting over whether Nina is suitable for a newbie.
Yeah.
No, that's not it. Is it?
Right here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
now we need to find the right type of camera. Now, you can probably, as I said earlier, if you had a small, like Canon DSLR chip, which is its pixel size is 5.18 microns. This will give you a resolution of 1.78 arc seconds. That's the double, your quote sign here. That represents arc seconds per pixel. Pixels as in the pixels on your chip.
Yeah. And if you look at the graph at the bottom, you're in the green. So that's
you're in green.
sign.
So
it
shows
right,
your
0.67 to 2 arc seconds per pixel.
Right. And that's per pickle.
It's going to be pickle from now on, Dave.
Yeah. And that's based off of your seeing conditions. Okay. Seeing conditions vary from area to area. Okay.
Yeah.
Light polluted areas that have dark skies. That just depends on your area. So, and with this is average okay seeing, which means the star sizes are usually between 2 to 4 arc seconds, full width half maximum. And if you want to know more about that, type in what is FWHM into your browser and start learning, start reading. It's basically the smaller this number is, the tighter those scars would be, and the better in focus you'll be. So learn. It's all about learning. But here, our resolution, we are really, we are in that sweet spot for decent, average, okay seeing. If we had exceptional seeing, like we're in really dark skies,
it'd be oversampled.
This will be oversampled, which it's okay. You have good seeing, you've still slightly undersampled rather. If you had really, really bad seeing, like if you were light polluted skies and stuff like that, this may not be that bad.
Nope.
It may not be that bad. It'd still come out okay. But I'm just saying. But if you say you don't want to use that DSLR and you want to look for a dedicated camera, a dedicated astrophotography camera, I will direct you to one of our vendors, Altair Astro, and we sell Altair Astro, but I don't believe they have the 585 in here yet.
They might,
but they do have the
definitely have the 533. So that's,
and we are in.
You're under poor. Just go to okay. Yeah. Oh, bam, right in the middle.
You're right there. Which is in the 533 sensors are very, very popular sensors, very economically affordable sensor cameras, deep cool, and they're cooled. Only thing is that you have to remember is your images will be perfectly square. Okay.
But those can be cropped.
They can be cropped, they can be changed, things like that, but you have a perfect 1-inch square sensor. But let's take a look at another product that we carry, which is Player One, and we'll look at the Uranus C. Very close to the 533, very economical as well. The only difference is this is more rectangular instead of it being an 11-inch 11
aspect ratio.
11 this is more 11 by 6. And you are still in that 1 arc second per pixel range. So you are still very good. This will give you a more rectangular type of view versus that perfect square.
So is that the 585 sensor?
This is the 585 sensor.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So Altair makes the same sensor as well. So
yes, they do. Yes, they do. We just can't.
So it would be the same with the Altair.
Correct. Now, to help you decide on which way you want to go. We're taking a look at the 533 and the 585 censored cameras. We're going to hop over here. Both of them are well in that in the okay seeing range as far as their resolution per pixel. Let's take a look at the field of view. Okay, and we are going to go to imaging mode because we're imaging. We're astrophotographers now. And we are going to take a look at, let's go with something here.
Let's do like M42. Something.
Well, yeah, relevant. I was thinking we're in the summer now, so I was figuring maybe we can do the lagoon.
Okay. Yep, we can do that.
And now our telescope, it is still that Skywatcher Quattro. So we're going to look for it. So Skywatcher Quattro 150. And that's right here.
Was it the 6 or was it the 8?
It was the 150 f 3.9. So that's, oh no. Yeah.
So it's basically the f4.
Yeah, f4. Yeah.
So it's at 600 millimeters of focal length.
Yeah.
Okay. And we are using now, say if we want to go with that Altair, for example, that 533 sensor. All right. Now let's take a look and see how much this will cover as far as how much we can see. Bam. We can fit the Lagoon Nebula in here perfectly.
Yeah, no problem.
No problems whatsoever with this field of view. And this is a square sensor like we were talking about. All right. So this will give us a very good photo. Now, if we wanted to go with that 585 camera, that Player One Uranus C, let's go there. That 585. Now we're going to add this to our field of view. So we add this to our view so we can compare the two different sensor sizes.
Still fit it.
It'll still fit now, but you keep in mind now that this rectangular, you are and with a smaller sensor, you are going to be basically zooming in more versus a wider sensor, a camera that has a wider sensor, going to give you a wider field of view, a larger field of view. These smaller sensors are going to give you a more narrow field and more cropped in, closer field of view.
Well, and also that 585 has smaller pixels.
It does. It does have
potentially it could resolve some of your finer details better than the 533.
533. Exactly. So you have a choice here in looking in your budget, but I'm going to initially, because it has those smaller pixels, you are going to, as Dave said, you're going to get those finer details. Okay. So let's go with the 585. All right. So why don't we go back here to our screen? Where was I? Okay. All right. So we are going to refresh here. We have the Quattro and the Sim 60, where it's $2,000, a little bit over $2,100. Now let's look for that Uranus C. So we're going to look for cameras. Let's see that. Uranus C.
That's the M.
Oh, okay. This is a mono camera, but let's just take a look at it.
Wow, that's only $649 for the mono.
For the mono. So you would expect that the color camera is probably going to be around the same price.
Or less. Probably less.
Or less.
Probably like $550.
Yeah.
Or $580.
So, but let's see if we can find the Uranus C, see if he has the Uranus C.
Well, he should have it on the website, I would think.
Well, sometimes he does. It all depends on what.
There it is, right there. There it was. Uranus C. Go down one. There you go.
Oh, that's the.
Oh, that's the planetary. Oh,
here we go.
There you go. The Pro. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Okay,
570.
So 570. All right. Let's just add that to our list here. Now we are at $2,632. All right. We're creeping up here. Now, this will get us going. And now we are going to also need a camera, another camera for guiding and auto guiding. Okay, so we can take, and we want to do auto guiding so we can take long exposures. The auto guiding is that is a camera setup with a camera and a small telescope, or what we call a guide scope, that's going to be paired and send commands, sometimes usually in a form of a pulse, to your tracking mount to tell it how to adjust to stay in line with a particular star that you've chosen within your auto guiding software, usually like PhD2, to follow that star and to stay in line, stay tracking that star so you can take those long exposures. It keeps that mount in line, basically, making sure it doesn't go too slow or too fast in its tracking. So let's take a look at that really quick. We'll look at I'll type in here a guide scope. See if we can do something here. Okay, so we have a guide scope here, a 32 millimeter, perfectly fine guide scope. It's $100. Totally cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at 2,700. Now let's look at a guide camera. Probably something like the Senna. Okay.
You can also use the tools website, to pair those, so balance them out.
Yep. It's showing up here for me.
And Eric, you might want to actually, instead of a guide scope, look at what an OAG would cost.
And OAG would probably be a bit much, but let me take
I bet you can get them for about $100.
Yeah. So here is a guide camera. This is an IMX 462. This is the Ceres. And let's go back here and match all of this up. Let me go here. So we want to make sure that we're going to go to another calculator called the Guide Scope Suitability Camera calculator. And this is going to help us determine if our imaging setup, our imaging camera and telescope, and our guide camera and telescope are going to be a good match. So we've got our Skywatcher.
You can just type it into that box and it'll come up.
Yeah. So we have the 150 here. And we've got player one. And we've got the Uranus. See? Okay. Here we are there. And we've got a star field. I don't know if it shows a star field here.
It may not.
But it's okay. If you know the focal length,
you can do, yeah.
You just simply type in the focal length, and I believe it was 320. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, double check. I think you're right, though.
32 millimeter f4.
128 millimeter. 128. Yeah,
128 millimeter focal length. So we're going to type in 128 here.
Yeah.
Okay. And our guide camera was a player one. And we'll scroll down here. I believe it was a Cirrus M.
Yeah.
And its image to guiding ratio is 1.6.
Is 1 to 6.06.
1 to 6. Yeah, thank you. 1 to 6. So not bad.
Yeah, see how much bigger the pixel size on that camera are much larger than
much larger. If we went, let's see if there was a different one. The Sedna. If you picked up the Sedna,
oh, see, much better.
Because the pixel size is getting closer to your pixel size of your imaging camera.
Yeah, that's so much better. And how much is the Sedna cost?
And let's take a look at the Sedna.
Might even be cheaper.
Nope, it's $250.
Yikes.
But
$70
more. Well, but I'm just wondering if an OAG, if you were using an OAG, but go back to astronomy tools.
Yep.
And put in your Quattro.
Yep. Well, it'd be 1-to-1. It's basically
almost 1-to-1. Yeah. So and put the other camera in there.
Yeah. But remember, OAGs are a little bit more complex.
They are, but
they
can be less frustrating once you get them.
Once you get them locked in, yeah, they'll be a little less frustrating. So if you have a Cirrus M,
on a wider field telescope, they're definitely less because you've got more.
There's not so many more stars.
Stars.
Yeah. Star field's going to be huge, so
let's
it won't be as bad.
Let's take a look at that then. A player one OAG Mini is only $189. So we could add this as so we can add this, and it is almost $100 more than the Starfield.
Right.
But your guiding will be better. So let's just say for now we remove this guy and we went with this other guy.
That's a very reasonable price on an OAG. I mean, that's very reasonable.
It is.
So, and you're going to need 55 millimeters of backspace for that camera.
Yeah.
I guess, provided that Quattro comes with a coma
probably
corrector.
Has an extension.
Yeah.
I would hope it comes with a coma corrector.
Well, we'll see. But here,
the Quattro?
Here,
yeah,
that Quattro.
It does.
It does. Does it come with a
yeah, it does.
reducer? Okay.
Comes with a coma corrector.
Coma corrector?
Yeah, not a reducer though.
Thank you. So here with this, we are over budget.
$3,000.
We are slightly over budget. Okay. Now, this does not include a filter.
You know what else it doesn't include is all of your cabling or your power supply.
Oh yeah, it doesn't. But some of this stuff we can just take into account. So
the Altair camera comes with a power supply.
Yeah.
No. I mean a 12-volt power supply for everything.
Oh, that's if you're on the road. I use a power strip.
But let's just go back here and let's just stick with a guide. If we go back to a guide scope. Okay. And we'll keep this. Now we are basically, there are more accessories that you are going to have to get, but to get the basics, you're just at $3,000. That's your mount, your cameras, and your guide scope. Now, if you wanted now to manage everything, you're going to need some setup. Either you're going to need a laptop, your own laptop, and then get additional USB cables. Some of these will already come with their own USB cables. Some of them may not, but you can use your own laptop and run your own software if you're comfortable with that to manage everything. If you are not, then you are going to need something like
Stellina.
Vita, like the Stella Vita.
Stella Vita, yeah.
And the Stella Vita will supply power can supply power to your mount, especially this small mount that we're working with here. It will
Mount,
supply
camera.
power to your cameras. You can hook up your cameras, both of your cameras and your mount. So it also has built-in planning tools, a built-in planetarium software to help direct your mount. It does pretty much everything you need to do. And like I said, it supplies power. So if we add this to our cart, yes, we are now over that dollar amount. We are just over 3,300. But being off by a little bit here, this is not a bad setup to get you started into astrophotography. You have a computer which will manage your plan, do your guiding, do everything you need it to do to start getting really nice images.
Yeah.
You have your guide scope and your guide camera for your auto guiding. And then you also have, let's scroll here. If I go to the cart, you have your imaging camera, your telescope, which is your OTA or your imaging scope, and your mount. Okay. So you have all of it here. And even this with this, let me just do a refresh here. We are at $3,330 even. Okay. Plus taxes and shipping and stuff like that. So
and insurance. And insurance. Don't forget that. Dan is not going to be shipping anything without insurance anymore.
Yeah. But just to let you know, But for the equipment itself,
yep,
trying to stay within that $3,000. I know we went over because we had to get the computer, the wireless computer, to manage everything, which is which you're going to need, especially starting out new. You want to have something that's going to be helpful for you to manage everything. You're in the ballpark of where you want to be.
Yeah. And if you do have a laptop and you want to utilize that, you just need a USB hub.
Yeah, you just buy a USB hub, and you'll need to
get Nina PhD 2, and you have to just put that on your laptop, and that stuff's free.
Yeah, and just get power cables to power your mount.
Yeah, does the Player One come with a power brick and everything with it, or not?
No.
So that's the advantage of the Altair camera. It comes with a power brick and everything.
It does come with a power brick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff you can, those power bricks aren't that expensive. But it has to be 12 volt. It has to be a 12-volt power brick,
12-volt, 5 amp,
Yep. It has to be 12-volt DC current and, preferably 5 amp. Yep. Let me see. Do we have any comments here?
Oh yeah. They're chatting up a storm.
Oh yeah. You got a lot.
I'm saying Eric's full of crap.
I'm reading stuff now. So John put something together, an EQ AL55 with it's a 22-pound payload and ASCAR 71.
And he's
Guys,
got some ZWO stuff in there too.
You got some ZWO stuff in here. Yep, it's uncooled. The guide cam and ASI air, which you can definitely do, and that's on at 3,000. So that's a good package there as well.
But I think it's self-evident that when you start looking at doing astrophotography, not only is there a learning curve that you're going to have to commit to, but the rabbit hole is legit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because once you spend that initial $3,000 and you start getting really good photos, and the thing about that Quattro is when it comes to Newtonians, it's probably the cheapest Newtonian you can buy. The spider vanes that hold the secondary are shit, and it's just going to lead you down. Oh, I need something better. I need something better. I want something bigger. I want something, faster.
Remember what we said earlier: buy once, cry once.
Well, that's right. But we're trying to keep it in a budget.
You keep it in a budget, and we're starting out. And people, you start out small. You start out.
I mean, that whole rig you just put together costs less than just my focuser.
Yeah,
right.
So
that's what I was getting at. I have a quad band filter. One filter was $1,000.
Yeah.
But as we
filter prices are actually, they're starting to come down quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
but it's just to put it into perspective.
But guys, as we're saying, this is for someone on a budget just getting started that has no clue on what to do to just get started, and to just get started for around $3,000, a little bit over, some give or take in that $3,000 range. This is not bad.
No, it's not bad.
I'm not saying it's not great.
It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be
not bad.
It gets you started. Now, my question is simply this. To me, the weak point in that whole build is the Newt. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the weak link in the chain. So what I would ask is, okay, what do you got to do? How much money do you got to throw at this to get to a 600 millimeter doublet?
Let's table that for Friday. Let's talk about that because we're pretty much over time here.
Oh my gosh, it's almost 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we're already over time. But let's table that because, as you can see, building these rigs and building this stuff, you can go down a rabbit hole and all of a sudden, boom, it's almost 10 o'clock. So we'll take a look at that. So don't let us forget about that, Scott. On Friday, we'll take a look at a very nice doublet refractor versus a Newtonian reflector, because they do have their refractors do have their advantages, especially for people getting started.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about that come Friday. All right. This was a great show. We had some really good conversation, great participation. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. And let me see if there's any final comments before we get out of here.
There are all kinds.
I know there's all kinds. I mean, I started out, I'll even give you guys, we'll talk about it next week. On Friday, what I even started out with when I was starting out in astrophotography and where I went to. But no, yeah.
Yeah, you remember what you said when you first met me?
Mm-hmm.
He did what?
You did what? Yeah. I'm like, yee. I'm just like,
did what?
I'm looking at mine, and I'm just like, and him like, damn, he did that.
Yeah, I didn't just jump into the rabbit hole. I strapped a freaking jetpack on and dove in head first.
He ain't lying, folks.
Yep.
He ain't lying. He definitely took the round turn at Albuquerque. He did. He should have took that at Albuquerque.
Oh
Nope.
my God.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no. He went all the way to Area 51. But
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah. All right, guys. Dave, final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I think it was pretty good, but I think like Thomas Duff has a good point. You know, if you're just starting off, there's no shame in looking for used stuff
Yeah.
because if you
Oh
really want
yeah.
to save money, the used market, you'll be able to save a lot of money,
Yeah,
and
we
you'll be
will
able to
talk about
get decent equipment for a pretty good price.
yeah, and we
As
can
long
definitely
as
talk
it's
about the used market for sure.
yeah, because
Buyer beware on stuff like that. I mean, we
yeah,
just had that with Eric with his 11, that center, element
yeah,
that,
yeah,
how it
I lucked
wasn't
out.
tight,
Yep.
yeah.
And I
you
lucked
know,
out, but
lucked
it's
out on that.
yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
lucked out really big time on that. But yeah. But we'll definitely talk about the used market as we go deeper into this journey of building rigs and stuff like that. So that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Scott, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. Just, be prepared, when you're looking at this, you've got a budget range and that's all well and good, but you may find that you're doubling your budget really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So just be aware,
Yeah.
that it's
We don't
important.
want to scare you guys off. We don't want to scare
No,
people off. But
no.
always know that this is a start. This is
Yep.
just the beginning. And as I said earlier, astrophotography is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And that
Yep.
comes, but and that includes your budget too. So
Yeah. And
when we talk about that, it's also very good if you're married or have a significant other that has somebody who is very supportive of your journey, and
mhm.
understands what you're trying to do. So just letting you know that as well. And I can say for the three of us, we are very fortunate to have significant others who are
Absolutely.
very supportive of our journey. And, so that's one thing I will say as well, because this
Yeah,
is
because
not
you can
a,
wind up in divorce court real quick.
yeah, but
And she gonna get half that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. She gonna get all your telescope gear.
mhm, yeah, you may
And
not
then
She'll
know.
sell
leave
it
you.
for a third of the price.
She'll
I was about
leave you
to
the
say that.
telescope. She's gonna take your mount. Then you're really
Uh-huh.
Then you're really pissed. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for coming out, hanging out with us. Please don't forget as you leave, don't forget to like this video. Please drop in comments and on the replays if you're watching this on a replay. We hope that we were able to provide you with at least a little bit of information through all of the craziness and help you get started. Don't forget about our Discord channel of AstroWorld Telescopes, AstroWorld Q&A. Don't forget to visit our website, astroworldweb.com. Vote for Image of the Week. We have 2 really good images out there for this week. And novices, get your images out here so you can start having a chance to win some AstroWorld telescope bucks so you can improve and buy some new gear so you can,
Yep.
take your game to the next level. So besides that, yeah, we will see you guys on Friday. Have a great rest of your week. And as always, keep imaging, keep educating, clear skies, and we will see you guys on Friday. Take care, everybody.
Peace.